Good morning. Thank you for tuning in. I want to talk to you a little bit about the irony of ministry. I was thinking the other day about those kids that I was always told that those kids were trouble. Those kids were bad news or a bad influence. I was taught to avoid those kids. Remember those kids I'm talking about? Those kids that you were told to have just nothing, don't hang around them, don't have anything to do with them. And I was thinking about what if those kids that we were taught as children to avoid are the very people that God is calling us as a church to reach out to minister to love, to accept, to give hope to, rather than to avoid them. The gospel is calling us to embrace them. Now, I agree that we need to teach our kids to avoid bad situations, but I don't know that we really have any biblical um, arguments to teach them to reject people. I think the opposite is true, that we should teach them that our faith is strong enough, that our faith is important enough, that under the proper circumstances and the proper situation, that we should be eager and willing to always show kindness and to always um, be accepting of any person, no matter what situation they are in life, no matter what bad choices they have made, no matter what family perhaps they have come from. And I think as adults, we need to be setting that example, and we need to be having that conversation, because if we received the gospel, then we receive grace and forgiveness that we did not deserve. And according to the Bible, if we receive that type of forgiveness, then we're obligated to take that forgiveness to other people, not only to receive the gospel, but to give the gospel, not only to receive the grace, but share the grace. And a lot of times we see our childhood precautions grow up to be the very thing that cripples our church's ministry, our adult calling. And we end up doing a very limited amount of evangelism that God has called us to do. And we end up only focusing on a fraction of who God wants us to focus on. So I guess the question is, how can we change that? And the answer to that is a very common answer. To change something in our lives that need to be changed, we make it more Christ-like. And to make it more Christ-like, we look at what he did. And throughout the gospel, Jesus was constantly meeting new people. And out of the hundreds of people, maybe thousands of people that he met, the Bible very specifically highlights certain ones. We see the Bible highlighting Jesus when he met the woman at the well, Jesus when he met the Canaanite woman. So you're seeing Jesus tear down the walls of racism and sexism both at the same time, with the way he engaged and respected and offered salvation to those women, offered a relationship to those women. You see Jesus specifically meeting the new people of Matthew, the tax collector, Zacchaeus, the tax collector. And this is very relevant to our time right now, because many people in the church have opinions of other people. They call them unpatriotic, they call them traitors, and they're very angry and they're very aggressive towards them. But we see Jesus coming to these two people who literally sold out their own country to make money through the support of the Roman government, through the support of a foreign government. They betrayed their own people for money's sake. So this is the ultimate example of a legitimate traitor, a legitimate unpatriotic person who turned their back on their country. And Jesus reached out to them and built a relationship with them and gave them hope and redemption. We see the woman caught in adultery. We see Jesus loving and accepting and ministering to the sexually disobedient. We see the Roman officer This guy was an illegal occupant of Israel, but Jesus ministered to him and Jesus encouraged him and Jesus gave him hope. We see the lame, the poor, the demon possessed, all these people that perhaps had nothing to offer, but all they had was need, need, need. And Jesus embraced them. Jesus entered into their lives and built relationships with them. So what about us? Do we avoid these needy people? Do we avoid these illegal occupants? Do we avoid the sexually disobedient people around us? Do we avoid these unpatriotic traitors defined by some? Do we avoid issues of racism or sexism? How do we deal with that? Do we give them the same thing that Jesus gave to us, which is a trusting relationship, truth, grace, and kindness? Now, some people like to just go crazy on truth, but they don't give grace, they don't give kindness, they don't give love. Did Jesus give us love? Forgiveness, which goes hand in hand with graciousness, redemption and hope. Are we giving to others what Jesus gave to us? Are we only giving it to a select few, or are we giving it to the people that he set the example for? I want to thank God for the people who invested the gospel in me. And I want to express that thanksgiving by being intentional and obedient to invest that gospel in other people. Love you. Thank you for tuning in. If you need to pray, talk things over, or want to have any kind of discussions on this devotion, feel free to reach out on Google, find us, First Baptist Honey Path, and give us a call. Love to talk to you. Have a great day.